Going into law enforcement, what I wanted to do most was put the bad guy in jail, and what's worse than homicide. Being able to call the family of a victim and tell them, we got the guy, we have him in custody. That's one of the best feelings I've ever felt. So this is the scene where it happened. The male was found face down in the ditch over here. The shooting took place in the driveway. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna walk and see if we can't find a weapon that was possibly dropped by somebody who ran from the scene. It's a ball cap and a face mask.
It's the path, it's the direction that he was running.
Right. It looks like our guy was wearing a mask and a hat. On patrol, you respond to these scenes, and then you turn it over, and you don't get a lot of resolution. You know, you take your initial report, but then you don't really know what happens with the case from there. A couple weeks ago, we responded to a continuation of the Sierra Rod case. The family had returned home from a candlelight vigil, and a family disturbance broke out, and Sierra's father was killed during a disturbance with her grandfather. Just less than 7 days prior, you know, that little girl was killed in a drive-by shooting, and you know, now her dad is now dead. Nobody would have thought that earlier in the week. The fourth call in the last 2 weeks was a apparent robbery that where our suspects tried to rob an individual in the parking lot, and the initial story was that he was able to wrestle the gun away and shoot both of the suspects, but later in an interview it came out he was at that location, in fact, to sell drugs, and they attempted to rip him for the drugs, and he pulled out his gun and shot both suspects. He was completely cooperative. He provided us with everything we asked for, and that case is going to be referred to the grand jury, and they will ultimately decide if charges are filed. It's very sad when you start finding out the backstory behind these kids. One of them was a runaway. The other one was the one who died. His mom is currently in Harris County Jail, and his dad is deceased. So, you know, there's not a lot of support for him, you know. The interview room is the most complex part of the job, and that is what I'm trying to hone as my skill. That's where I'm trying to improve the most. Some people, what gets them to talk is overwhelming evidence. You know, basically, you already know everything, and then a lot of times they will break down and say, okay, and tell you the truth. There's a small portion of the population that won't talk to you at all. There's nothing you can do to get them to talk to you. There's another portion that is emotional, so you make an emotional connection, or you make them feel emotional about what happened or what their future will be like. It's just, everybody's kind of different, and I guess that's part of that puzzle of figuring out what makes that person connect with you and will make them feel comfortable telling you what happened. I will say that it is the best, hardest job that I've ever had, but it's worth it. You know, the effort that you put in is recognized, and you know, you're making a very big difference in a family's life whenever you are able to give them closure, which is something I've never been able to do in any other facet of law enforcement.